This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I'm joined today by winemaker Emily Faulconer, who is joining us all the way from Chile. Where are you exactly in Chile today, Emily?
I am in Santiago.
Okay.
Hello, Jamie. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invite. And yes, I am in Santiago. That is the capital of Chile. This is where I live.
Now, how far are you from the Carmen winery?
I'm 45 minutes away in a car, so it's not very far.
Okay. Now,
So
how long have you been at Carmen for?
I've been at Carmen for 6 years.
6 years.
Going into 6 years now in June. Started in 2017.
Well, I know that you had traveled around the world. I saw that you had worked at a number of wineries in New Zealand, California, and elsewhere that I recognized. But what was it that drew you to Carmen, apart from the amazing history of Carmen, of course?
Well, it was, of course, a lot of young winemakers travel around a bit, first because we need to understand the world and get different insights in terms of wine, but also because it's quite difficult to get a permanent job at the beginning.
Yes.
But then I always wanted to come back to Chile, and I came back and was quite lucky and got a permanent job in Santa Cruz, and I had a few jobs before Carmen here in Chile, and I got offered this opportunity when I was 32 to be head winemaker at Carmen. So I thought, gosh, I never expected to get that kind of responsibilities at such a young age. So of course I said yes, and it's been great because I did jump around a little bit in different places, which I think was really good for me in terms of learning process and meeting people and etc. before. But in winemaking, it's even more gratifying sticking around in a place and to be able to see the results that are always a little bit medium or long-term projects. So it's been great fun now being 6 years into Carmen and having this portfolio of wines that we have and being able to get another opportunity year after year to keep working on the things that we are. So
now, I'd be very interested to pick your brain and find out what your impressions of Carmen were before you were offered the job there.
Well, to be honest, I knew about Carmen. I knew it was a very classical winery because Carmen was founded in 1850. So it's been around the Chilean wine scenario for quite a while. Yes. And it's a very important brand in Chile. But for me, it was a classic, traditional vineyard and winery in Chile with classic wines that they had very good day-to-day wines and very strong in Cabernet Sauvignon and Carmener. And that was a little bit the impression that I had. And I was very into dry farming, all vineyards in the south, and I had been working in the north. So I was at that stage, I was very into like the B side of the viticulture and winemaking in Chile. So I wasn't a regular drinker of Carmen, but I did know that in the 90s, Carmen was like the winery. It was very cool. It was led by Álvaro Espinosa. He's a very well-known winemaker in Chile, and it was like the trendy winery in the 90s. So that's a little bit of what I knew. And everybody, when I got offered the job, I sort of talked around with sort of older winemakers that I respect a lot and asked them, what do you think? And everybody said, you have to take that job. It's like a great opportunity. And so that's a little bit.
If previous to you working at Carmen, you were very interested in the B side of winemaking, how did that translate to what you do today? Have you been able to keep those kind of B sides working within the Carmen infrastructure?
Well, actually, when I started, I had this impression that Carmen was very classic and traditional. But when I started investigating a little bit more, the winemaker at the time, that was before me, he started these projects with small growers and different grape varieties and different valleys from Maipo and Colchagua that were quite interesting. And I thought, okay, so Carmen has the classic traditional appellations, but on the other hand, it has like the freedom for innovation and seeking for different terroirs, and I thought that was quite interesting. And today, I was proved right that Carmen is a very free in spirit winery. Inside of the group, because we form part of a group, the Santa Rita Estates group. It's like the wild, like the free spirit winery that is very open to innovation and to new products and new wine styles, and it's been great fun. Today we have a portfolio of wine that is completely different to 6 years ago. Right. Not completely, like we have the classics, but we have some new wines, and we've worked a lot in the style of the wines, and so it's been great fun in terms of discovery. And also, if you ask me, Emily Faulconer today versus what I just said, that interested me 6-7 years ago, I'm very into the classics and the traditional viticulture and appellations.
So you have changed.
I was surprised.
Right. I see. So you have changed as well. You have.
I have
evolved.
Changed a lot.
Yes. Yeah.
If you'd asked me about Gardener Sauvignon 6 years ago, I would have said, yeah, okay, it's what people drink.
Interesting.
It's what people drink. And today it's like, I'm obsessed with Gardener Sauvignon. And I mean, the winery is in Alto Maipo, which is the wine region for Cab in Chile. And we have a vineyard that is 600 hectares big. And there's so much diversity and different types of wine, styles, and quality all in one grape variety. So for me today, is the cool thing is Gardener Sauvignon versus what I was thinking when I was sort of younger and starting in winemaking. So it's been, for me, very revealing in terms of what I do and what I'm interested in professionally, and also with Carmener. I'm not saying this because we're going to talk about these wines today, but it's actually what I'm interested in. Yeah.
So what is exciting you most today? What is the project that's exciting you most at Carmen?
Unfortunately, I can't say one thing.
That's okay. That's all right.
To be clear,
give me a handful. If you wish.
I have a lot of exciting things going on at the moment. In terms of consolidating ideas and projects that we have, but I would say the Alto Jahuel project, which is Alto Jahuel is the locality where the winery is, that is in Alto Maipo. And is this vineyard that I just mentioned, the 600 hectare vineyard, that has a part that is old vine and a part that is new vine, and new vineyards. That we have a replanting project that started in 2015, and we've replanted like 80% of the property. And so all of that is going into production. We have this vineyard that is today between 8, 7, 4, 5 years. So we have a lot of things going into production, and the vines are getting more mature stage.
Yes.
So we have a lot of results and mapping this place and understanding the quality potential, the style of the wines that come from here and everything is very exciting. So I would say Alto Jahuel for Cabernet Sauvignon is one of my main focuses today in terms of the wines that we're making. And also, I think that is I can't say everything that I enjoy very much my job. So if I start saying everything that I'm interested in, I'll probably mention everything I do. But yes, I think my main focus today is in that. And not only me, the Carmen team is very focused on that. And we have a family of cabs today, going from the most general conception, that is probably the Gran Reserva Cabernet Sauvignon, to the most specific parcel wine, that is a high-end wine. So massal selection versus clonal, rootstocks, soil types, exposition, the climate diversity that we have within the vineyard, and everything makes it all with the more you go into detail, the more the palette opens of the types of wine that we can achieve. So
now you have quite a sizable portfolio now. What is the average size of production in any 1 year?
In bottles and cases?
Yes.
So in Carmen, we produce 400,000 cases.
Okay.
But we have products that we make 100 cases.
I see.
Versus products that we make 60,000 cases.
Right.
So the level of detail, we have sort of more massive products to more specific. So I'm very focused on the high-end wines, and so from above Gran Reserva, which would be a retail wine, I don't know in Canada, but US is $17.
Yep. It's $19.95 here.
1995 is Gran Reserva. So there we have 10 different wines. And then I think we have 18 or 19 labels over that level, and that is around 180,000 cases.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, there's a lot of detail within each one of those labels. So it starts getting smaller as the high-end wine, start going into the high-end wines.
Getting back again to your evolution, how would you say your winemaking style has evolved since you joined Carmen?
I think, well, it's a good question actually, because I have a background of working with winemakers that have been into very respectful winemaking and a fresh, respectful with the terroir. And with that, I mean picking dates that are more earlier than the trend that we had before here in Chile, that we were looking for more ripe wines, etc. But I started quite early on with a school, like a training, because of the people who I worked with that were very in line with the fresher style, lower alcohols, oak, a very respectful use of oak, more as a vessel than to intervene in the character of the wine, in terms of very little new oak, etc. So I had that from the beginning. And I think my evolution has always been in that line. I've always liked that type of wine. That's the wines I know how to make. And I think my evolution has been to perfection the winemaking in that sense, where the objective is to be able to interpret places and be very, that you can actually sense origin through our wines and distinguish origin more than only grape varieties, and link it to sites. And I think my evolution has been to to understand that more and more, because I think I had that, I've always had that in mind, but then to actually achieve it in a glass of wine, in a bottle of wine, is the big challenge. And I think understanding places and making the link between what you taste in the grapes, in the ripeness profile in the grapes, and defining picking dates, and then how to make each of these wines for it to actually reflect the origin as how we see it, as how we as Carmen interpret it, has been the main evolution that I think I've had. And I'm still obviously not 100% on top of everything,
Right.
because it's a learning process, and it's been interesting and it's challenging, and yeah, it's fun.
Do you ever go back to bottles of your first vintage and taste them again and think, oh, I wish I had? You can actually see that change in your winemaking style from that first vintage to where you are right now. I mean, you're sitting on, well, you'll have finished last year's vintage now, right? Some of it.
We're in harvest now, but yes, I have done that exercise. Actually, last week I opened a bottle of wine of the Carmen Gold, which is the classic, the high-end wine in Carmen, and the style of the wine has always been. I feel I can see a common thread, but I think we have been nailing it a little bit more each year. So in terms of precision of what I expect from the wine, I think it's something that I personally see in the wine. I don't know if it's so obvious for consumers or right. But yes, I see a more polished and defined style for what we've been looking for as a team. I never blend on my own because I don't like to. I think I'm very sure of myself, but in terms of blending, I think it's always good to have an opinion. So that's why I don't want to talk only personally about what we do, because I have to put my face here to have the interview with you, but it's a big team working behind, and we're all pretty much in line and to what the kind of wine we want to achieve in Carmen.
I hear you. Well, Emily, thank you very much for joining us at Good Food Revolution today. We're going to go on and taste a couple of wines with you in a little bit, but I really appreciate your time, and maybe we'll see you up in Ontario for a glass of wine at some point.
I'd love to.
In the not too distant future, just not when it's -25.
Yeah, I make sure I won't be there.
Thanks so much. We'll speak to you soon.
Thank you, Jamie. Bye-bye.